This is a very strange case that, although it happened in recent history, has never been solved. At least 6 people in Vietnam have passed away from a mysterious, unknown illness. The scary thing is, these deaths were spaced out over the course of a few months to a few years. So who knows how many people were actually affected by this illness? In reality, there is a chance it could still be claiming lives today, or worse, may have a resurgence in the near future. If you're interested in reading a full write-up about this case, I'll leave a link to an excellent Reddit article in the description. That's where most of this information actually came from. The beginning of this case takes us all the way back to 2002. The Tran family was a very large family living in Vietnam at the time, with 4 generations of them living in the same area for many years. By all means, the Tran family was your average, ordinary Vietnamese family. The oldest of the family, Tran Van Rang, had 8 children throughout his younger years, but by the time he was 65, 2 of his kids still lived nearby. Their mother lived nearby as well, but we really don't know why she wasn't living with their father, but I think we can safely assume that they probably divorced or, something to that effect. 2 of the sons were both happily married and spent most of their days tending to their farm. Before long, they had managed to both save up enough money to build homes closer to their parents, with some reports indicating that these homes were essentially next door to them. Everything was going great for the Tran family at this point, but things would soon take a dark turn. According to one of the sons, things began to go downhill as the youngest son of the family began building his new home close to his father's home. According to the older brother, as soon as the younger brother began construction, strange and almost paranormal things began happening around the property. Several of their cattle became violently ill with the mysterious illness. It wouldn't be long before dozens of their pigs and other livestock began getting sick as well. It seemed that rather than this being a disease of the body, it was a disease of the mind. Some of the ducks, chickens, and pigs began acting erratically, and they would slam themselves against their fencing, foaming at the mouths and seemingly trying to escape their cages. Needless to say, this was not something that had happened before. Within just a few hours of the illness beginning, all of the livestock would pass away, aside from one single duck. Interestingly, one of the neighbors took this duck home to his livestock, though within days, all of his other ducks began exhibiting the exact same symptoms and would pass away. Though this one duck still managed to live throughout the ordeal and ran away from the farm, likely infecting other animals in surrounding areas. It wouldn't be long until this illness spread, and a few days later, the parents' cattle had passed away in a very similar way. This left the family with a seriously difficult financial situation, as they weren't able to bring in any new cattle or livestock, as they feared that the unknown disease would claim their lives as well. The Tran's oldest son was known for being a very healthy man. He had just recently moved back to one of his family's abandoned homes that presumably was located on their farm. The details here are a bit vague. He had no health problems at the time and was very fit for his size and age. However, before long, he too would begin complaining about an odd illness that he just couldn't seem to shake. He said that it began with extreme pain that seemed to radiate throughout his body. He'd been to the hospital several times, but doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him. Before long, the disease left him in such bad shape that he was no longer able to tend to his cattle and livestock, which had somehow survived this unseen force that had wiped out the rest of the animals. Just a few weeks after the disease began to affect him, this man would find himself violently ill, foaming at the mouth and twitching uncontrollably, just like the animals. He would be admitted to the hospital, but he ultimately passed away in mid-2002. Following his son's death, Van Rang would also succumb to a similar illness. It's been said that he began drinking a lot after his son passed away, and after a short amount of time, he would pass away too, convulsing in an almost identical episode to his son. Following his death, the family set up a memorial ceremony in his honor. As part of Vietnamese tradition, the family headed out to the cemetery where he was buried to perform the ritual. It was here that this illness would claim its most devastating victim yet. a 6-year-old boy. The boy was one of the many grandchildren in the family, and about midway through the ceremony, he collapsed. Soon, he began showing all the same symptoms once again, foaming at the mouth, convulsing, and seemingly losing his mind. Within minutes of the episode beginning, he had passed away. It's been reported that 12 other people at the ceremony also became ill, with 3 family members being rushed to the hospital for treatment just days later. A woman from the family would pass away while at the hospital, but one of the sons would return home, seemingly getting better. However, within just days of returning home, he too would pass away from convulsions. After this man passed away, his wife moved out of the family home and her symptoms improved almost immediately. By this point, 5 members of the family had passed away from this mysterious illness. Medical experts from around the country were called in to investigate, but no one could figure out what had been going on. The investigators took water samples, air samples, and even sampled the food that the family shared, but they came up with no clues. During this time, the illness would strike once more, claiming the life of an elderly woman from the Tran family. At this point, police and researchers were claiming that the illness seemed to have been caused by pesticide poisoning. However, no evidence of this was ever found, and it was nothing more than a theory. By this point, the illness had claimed the lives of 6 family members, but just as it had begun, it mysteriously vanished. There have been no other reports of the illness affecting any other members of the family or any other livestock in the area. It seems that the only remaining member of the family, who still lives on the family's property, claims that the disease is of a paranormal variety. He claims that he's felt the presence of an evil snake that lives on the property. He claims that the snake cursed his family for tearing down its home during construction. Though obviously this can't be what happened at all. It seems to me that something must have been unearthed during the construction process of the family's new home. Whether this was a naturally occurring substance, or as investigators suggested, possibly some sort of insecticide, maybe that was used to treat the wood used to build the home. Whatever it is, the truth is, we probably will never know. But it seems awfully curious that after the one woman left the family's home following her husband's death, her symptoms went away and never returned. But anyway, that's the video for today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. If you loved it, maybe consider sharing or clicking that blue join button below to really show your support for the channel. But I've been Ty Knott. You guys have been lovely, and I'll catch you in the next video.